Okay, members, welcome to today's meeting of Joint Standards Committee. We don't have a chair or vice chair for the meeting, so can I please ask the committee to propose someone for chair and also someone for vice chair, please. Councillor Fisher.
Chair. You might. I nominate Councillor Runciman for chair.
Thank you. Second.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is a meeting of the Joint Standards Committee of the City of York Council on Tuesday, the 13th of May at 4 o'clock. I welcome everybody who is watching us online or who will be watching us online later, and of course my fellow members of the committee. So apologies for absence, first of all. Am I reading them? Yeah, all right, I've got you. So Councillor Rowley has apologised. He would normally be the chair. Councillor Wardby, Parish Councillor Wardby has apologised. He's the vice chair. Parish Councillor Chris Chambers has apologised. And both independent persons, Mr. Jolie and Ms. Rose Mazza, are both apologising for this meeting.
I'm going to appoint the vice chair.
Do we need to appoint a vice chair? Oh, right. We need to appoint a vice chair.
I propose Councillor Breen.
Okay.
I second Councillor Breen.
Thank you. Right. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest that are not already on the council website? No. Thank you. If anything occurs in the meeting that means you feel you have a declaration of interest, then of course you will say so. We will have an item that is to be held in private. The exclusion of the press and public on agenda item 10, on the grounds it contains information which is likely to reveal the identity of individuals. Under the Local Government Act 1972, we can ask that any press and public are excluded. Can I have your agreement to do that? Thank you. Good. Now the minutes of the previous meetings, we've got two of those. The first one is the meeting of the Joint Standards Committee on the 18th of March 2025. Are there any corrections anybody wishes to? No, thank you. Can I pinch your pen for a sec? Thanks. Thank you. What about it? Is that me? Oh, I'm sending the wrong copy, aren't I?
Yeah.
We'll do it after. Yes, right. And the assessment subcommittee, those who were there, do you feel it is a correct record of what happened? Yes, it's only you, yes.
Can I just come in and just a quick reminder for members about the annual statement? If members are happy to approve the annual statement, which has been circulated, I think members will ask for their comments. So if we can just have a formal note that the annual statement has been agreed for publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we get on to the first item of substance, which is agenda item 7. And that is the member training and development. I have to say this is a case for me of déjà vu because I was previously sat on and was chair of a committee for the member training and development. It was a cross-party committee, which I think is very important, and I'm sure we all do. But if if the officer could take us through this report, and we can have comments after she's done so. Thanks, Lindsay.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I think one of the things that we've reflected on in the team, within the Dem Services team, is how we want to address the member training requirement. Particularly, we're starting to think now about the 2027 elections and the new intake. I know we're, only 2 years into this administration, but these things come to us very quickly. And I think we also, in looking at the training around scrutiny, which has become, quite a topic of debate with the scrutiny review recently, we're conscious that we need to add in some regular training, and we also want to address how members receive training. There are different ways of delivering training, and some training suits topics better than other ways of delivering. So we want to really have those discussions, and obviously we have views as officers, but you're the people who are going to be receiving the training. So we need to make sure that it fits your needs, your requirements, and that we deliver it in the best way possible within the normal constraints about, everyone's very busy, we have budget constraints, but we want to do the best that we can with the resource that we have, to make sure that the training offer for members is fit for purpose, it's good, and it gives you the skills that you need to do the role. Really important to get a good induction plan in place, and I think we can build on what was delivered in 2023, but I'm conscious that we don't do a huge amount in the meantime. We need to keep that training going. Some topics do need constant, update and refresher, so planning and licensing. But there are other aspects of your training where we think, you could probably do with a bit of refresher, maybe halfway through the term of office. So we just want to start really looking at that pattern of training, how we deliver it, how you want to see it delivered, what you feel you need as members from the training and development offer. Alongside that, kind of separate topic, but I thought it worked well kind of together with member training. You remember last July, the police officer John Freer came along to a council meeting to talk to you about Operation Forward, which is the national initiative looking at member safety and security. So it's for district, county, unitary councils, unfortunately not for parish councillors, but it covers the security and safety of members. A new officer was appointed a few months ago, Steve Armitage, and his responsibility is purely to work on Operation Forward. So I've been linking him with him very closely. He works with North Yorkshire Council. North Yorkshire Council have set up a working group of members to look at Operation Forward and all aspects of it. And Steve thought it would be very helpful if CYC did similar. And so the two working groups could speak to each other and just get some kind of shared learning and training out of that. And I thought it fitted quite nicely with a member training and development working group, so that, it would have the joint remit of looking at training and development, but also looking at member safety, which is kind of learning and training really. So with that in mind, the recommendation is that this committee looks at establishing a working group, a cross-party working group, to look at member training and development and to do that work on Operation Forward. So it's over to you to determine, whether you think that's a good idea, what you would like to see that working group consist of in terms of number of members and the makeup of the members. I suggest we don't have to be proportionate because it's non-decision making, but I think it's probably a good basis to start from. So it's over to you to determine how you want to take that forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Lindsay. I think we've got a lot of information to go on. We've got the audit of the previous year, I think it was, of who attended what and which was popular and which wasn't popular. We've had some discussions about what might be mandatory training, like planning training, obviously, and what isn't mandatory training, what is optional. But we haven't actually put our heads together to look it through and make a future plan, which is an opportunity I really welcome, quite honestly. So there are various points in here, including the number, and I'd like comments, please. First of all, I just say, of course, it must include city councillors and parish councillors. I know some of us are both, but right. Can I have any comments from anyone, please?
I think obviously we need to get a working party set up. was an appropriate size, probably about 7. I don't think it wants to be too large. That would allow for a measure of proportionality across the council groups. Possibly 2 Labour, 2 Liberal Democrat, a Conservative, the Independents who may not take part but might, and obviously maybe 2 parish councillors, so possibly 8 would be suitable, something like that. Some people are double-headed like myself and Councillor Runciman. In fact, I've got the full set because I've got a town councillor as well, so we may be able to help represent the parishes.
Do you want to comment?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, Councillor Fisher is still on my thunder. I think that's a really good idea. I think, yes, we need to have a working group. Yes, I think 2-2-1-1 and maybe a couple of parish councillors. And we are fortunate on the Standards Committee that we have ward councillors who are also parish councillors, and that is invaluable, and indeed a town councillor. So yeah, I would concur with what Councillor Fisher has said. I think it would be, I do remember, because I'm pretty new to this committee, that we did receive, I think it was a public document, so I read it not as a standards member of the committee, of which councillors attended which. And I also understand that obviously there are the statutory training, I think, as you say, if you sit on licensing or you sit on planning, you have to do that training. But it would seem that some of the training, from looking at the numbers, that didn't seem particularly popular, shall we say. We might need to have a look to say, well, why is that? The working party could start from, well, why? Why do training if it's not adding any value? I think that's what training needs to do. In the parish sector, there isn't any mandatory training. You become a parish councillor, and you sort of choose which sort of, even planning, you're not required to go on training, but YLCA do a lot of support with parish councils and lay on most of the training. But I do understand this is more for the city council rather than for the parishes. So yeah, I concur with Councillor Fisher. I think that's a really good idea, and I think we've got some time before the next lot of elections to actually get something in place that's robust and useful and valued. Thank you.
Councillor Kent, I'll just make your comment. I think the working group should look at the YLCA training so they're not duplicating, because there's a lot of training that YLCA put out. As being both a city councillor and a parish councillor myself, I know that. And the other thing I want to say, and give Lindsay 5 minutes to think about it, I want this to have an end. And I don't want it to be by the next election. I'd rather it was a task and finish group, and the finish is clearly delineated. So, Jenny, would you like to comment?
No, just to agree with everything that's already been said, particularly the point you've just made, Carol, about the amount of training and it being relevant and timely.
Councillor Pavlik.
Huge apologies. I just couldn't get out of a briefing. It was it just overran slightly. Yes, certainly no problem with a task and finish group. Just interesting listening to Diane. There are some elements of the work that we do that should have mandatory training, and I'm surprised that parish councils, for example, including those that sit on planning, which has a massive regulatory framework that underpins it, don't have to undertake training. So it might be useful for us to work out which bits are mandatory, which bits are optional, and then try to delineate. And Tony's going to tell me that's not right, that parish councils do have training on planning, but But yes, so that will be, but certainly no problem with the time limited. We don't want open-ended task and finish groups.
Yes, Tony.
I'd just say some councils do ask people to go on training. It's not statutory for parish council and town council to go on planning training, but the difference is that on the city council, you are the decision maker, whereas in the parish and towns, you're only a consultee. So it's a subtle difference between the level of responsibility. But it is, whatever, I think it is good that parish councillors do have a good knowledge of planning, because there are so many issues relating to the planning process that impact on other services within the parish.
Thank you. I was going to say that point, Councillor Fisher, but also to say that statutory there is no training that is mandatory in legislation. If we said to a councillor you have to attend this training and they said I'm not going to attend it, we couldn't impose a sanction on them for not attending that by way of removing them from their seat from office. So it's very difficult to make training mandatory. Yes, we can. So it's written into our constitution that we need you need to have training on planning and licensing if you sit on those bodies. But legally, it's not it's not something that we can remove a member from their office if they don't attend training. So it would have to be a council decision that we are making certain training sessions mandatory, and I think it should go wider than planning licensing. Personally, I think there are other sessions that should be mandatory for councillors, but it's just how we go about that and how we write that into our constitution to ensure that members are receiving the training that they should do. Interesting point about the parish councils, absolutely. And Frances and I, before she left, had lots of discussions about how we can support parish councils with training on standards and code of conduct and registration of interests, because that comes back to us. If that training isn't delivered properly, then it comes back to us because we deal with the complaints that arise from that lack of knowledge or understanding. So we certainly need to do some work there, absolutely. And we'd also talked about, where there's a gap in what YLCA might be offering, and I know some parish councils don't sign up to YLCA. Maybe we can sell some training to parish councils as well. So I think there's lots of opportunities there to make sure that we're delivering, to all elected reps across, parish and the city council. Thank you.
Good. Having spent most of my career, almost 40 years, training people, I'm a firm believer in training. And as much training as possible, because you always get something out of it. But I think we ought to save the detail. I've made a note of your suggestion, 2 Labour, 2 Lib Dem, 2 PCs and 1 Conservative, but I think that needs to go to the group itself. Yep.
I did include the independent member because I think, yeah, that's...
I think we're going to need to sort out when we'll meet. And my suggestion would be that we meet at the time this group would normally meet, because that's the time that people expect standards to meet. But we can sort that out. And then the last thing I want to hear your opinion on is putting an end date on it.
Make a point. I totally understand keeping it constrained in terms of agreeing the programme of training, but I think it might be useful to keep the working group kind of in the background as an ad hoc group to stand up, because there may be times where we need to consult members, or something happens, or something with Operation Forward needs to be done and we need a joint meeting with North Yorkshire. So we can constrain and time limit that piece of work, but I think it'd be useful to have the working group established and there if we need it, if that makes sense.
What do we think?
Thank you. Yes, I'm happy with that suggestion. I just wondered if we had any information from North Yorkshire about the time. Have they imposed a time limit on this piece of work that their working group's doing? Because that would be useful to know if we tallied. Is they're going to take 5 years, then our consultation process is going to be difficult.
Through you, Chair, I'm not aware that they have. I think it's just an ongoing piece of work, but I will certainly ask that information for you.
Diane,
Yeah,
listen.
Thank you. It's just a point of clarification, really. Don't disagree with anything anybody said. It's obviously the political groups themselves will decide who they send along. how do you decide who the parish councils? Will you go via YLCA like you do for when you've got a vacancy on this committee? It was
Just hold
just-
on, hold on, Di. We haven't decided on the membership. Tony's just forwarded a suggestion.
Okay. all
So
right.
we'll take it to the working group, perhaps in a room where I can hear better, because down here the loop doesn't work. So I'm concentrating very hard to hear what everybody's saying. Okay,
Yes, thank you.
thank you. Right, any more comments? No? Recommendation is on page 17. Develop and implement the member induction and training programme and undertake regular reviews, which is really important, and act as the liaison group for Operation Ford, undertaking joint working with North Yorkshire Police and North Yorkshire Council members as appropriate. And then we finalise and approve the terms of reference of the working group as set out in draft form at Annex A. Are all those recommendations acceptable to you all? Yes, Tony? Yes, yeah, that's fine. And then I would ask you, if you feel that you wish to volunteer, and I'll say straight away that I wish to volunteer, will you perhaps send an email to Lindsay so she knows? And will you have a little bit of time to read the terms of reference and think about them? They're very short, they're only one side. So thank you for developing one side, that's very good. And we'll then fix the first meeting. Okay, we're all happy with that? Good, thank you. Now we continue to agenda item 8. Or 7. Was that 7? Yes. Which is the work plan on page 21. And can I have any comments on the work plan? Or are you happy with it as it is at the moment? No comments. You're happy?
I can't see anything that we actually got that's urgent and needs to be added in after we've got those 3 items for today. Really nothing urgently on the horizon as far as that's
Fine. Okay with the work plan? Yes, we are. Right, thank you. Good. Agenda item 9 is urgent business. We don't have any urgent business notified to us, do we? No. Right. Okay. Now we go on to the monitoring report in respect of complaints received, which is agenda item 10. Lindsay, are you talking to that one? Yes.
Yes, Chair, and members, bear in mind that this is the public report, and if we want to talk about details within the private report, we will need to go into closed session. Yes, I think we had a bit of a flurry in the last few weeks as the head of legal was departing. We suddenly got quite a few complaints in, so we are pretty much up to date now. Everything that was in hand has been dealt with. I have had one more complaint which doesn't feature yet on the log, but I shall be looking at that on Monday next week. So we're in a pretty good position with complaints. We seem to have been resolved, all have been resolved satisfactorily, and we don't have any ongoing investigations. So it's fairly steady now. We've got through that little flurry that we had earlier last month. Thank you, Chair.
That's good to hear. Yeah, yeah, because we did have quite a lot of them at one point. Right, and if there are no comments or questions on item 10, then I'm going to